Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Thursday. Hope you're doing well. It's October 26th, as my son and his daily countdown to Halloween reminds me. Otherwise, I would probably hardly know what day it is. No, that's not altogether true, but I definitely know throughout this month what day it is. Until Halloween, he's probably going to keep me abreast of the dates. And then it's countdown to his birthday, which is a whole nother thing. And then shortly after his birthday's out the way, then it'll be, when's Christmas again? What day is Christmas again? How many days till Christmas again? So yeah. That's my life. But anyway, how you doing? I hope you are doing well. You're having a great day. It's a beautiful day. Here where I am, I was out and about for more than half of the day today, and had to handle some business, and then I stumbled upon Rutgers Camden's campus, Rutgers University, if you're not familiar, in the Camden campus. And I never really spent a whole bunch of time there, a few events here and there in my lifetime, but it was just so great to be on the college campus and see my son and I got some lunch and sat in what appeared to be their quad. That's what I was getting, because I saw the cafeteria, the library, and then there was a surrounding of other buildings, and then this open space with tables and lawns to eat. So I'm guessing that's what we called our centric point of campus at Drexel University. It was called the Quad. And I know a lot of campuses have the Quad. And that's what it kind of felt like. So it was kind of nostalgic. I feel like this may have some impression on the reading. I don't know. I actually had bought my cards out with me just in case I felt compelled to, just do a on location reading, but I didn't. We just ate our lunch, enjoyed the breeze. People watched a little bit, chit-chatted, and I enjoyed our quality time in that way, and talking to him about campus life and college life and this and that. And really, it was a great opportunity for me to reminisce on some of my fondest years. Quite honestly, I had an amazing time in college, and I wouldn't take any of it back. Not even knowing all that I know now about all whom I encountered and what I encountered, I wouldn't do anything different. So, there's that. Take it as you will. But let's see what's under the deck. All right, we got the Four of Wands. This is about stability, balance, a home, perhaps an actual physical home, but it's definitely about harmony and balance and prosperity within a home or in an establishment. Doesn't have to be like a domestic home. It could also be some establishment, of sorts. Yeah. We'll see how that pans out. It's a 4, balance, definitely an implication of equal give and take in some regard, or with this card it implies that the two that you can see that are kind of lifting their hands up in victory have overcome some great challenge to get to this place of balance and harmony and equality. So they individually went through some changes in life to then collectively have come together in this peaceful and harmonious way. So there's that. Let's see what else we got. Oh, I guess I didn't need to. There's the Six of Cups. Another card. Well, interesting, because the again, two people. Oh, wow, that's interesting, because I don't even know why I felt guided to turn the deck around in the middle, but I just did. So this is perhaps the challenge that was overcome. Speaking of two people having gotten over something, this is nostalgia in some relationship or relational exchange. It could even be family, but it could also be, and it could be any measure of relationship. It doesn't even have to be platonic or intimate. It can also be family, or it could be, a partnership that's of a more intimate nature. But the point is, coming off of the Four of Wands, is that it definitely indicates that the overcoming, or what has been what's been revisited, or perhaps I'm pretty much getting that this could be a past life experience. That's the most fantastical aspect of it. That this is a past life experience that ultimately has been reconciled by way of the Four of Wands into a more harmonious state in this timeline. So these are two people perhaps that have had an exchange over lifetimes, or in a past lifetime, or in the past of this life. You can see it in that more practical way as well. And there was a reconciliation, that commenced, where whatever it was that occurred in this encounter, again, whether it be past life or just past season or cycle, has been reconciled and what's the right word? Been resolved in some way, for whatever there may have been a disconnection here. It's been, or just, poor timing as well. It's been reconciled and resolved in a time and space more presently, currently, or in the near future, to be in divine timing, So it's something that, and that was a 10 of Cups I saw. And here it is again, trying to slip out, but I'm not going to take it. Let's see what else we got. So we talking about relationship. Oh, what's that? That turned over. Are we talking about, what we talking about today, Spirit? I'm so hot in here right now, but I don't want to turn the fan on because it gets a little noisy. Every time I forget to turn it off, I hate that noise in the background. So, and I guess that's a good thing, right? To have a little heat in October. The only sad thing is I was looking at the forecast, at least for here, and it's supposed to be the coldest day we've experienced yet. Of all the days, it's going to go up to even like 81 in the next couple days or so. Nice 70s vibes from now until Halloween. Then it drops down to 59. I'm like, really? Come on. Can we get a 60, a 65, At least a 65 would be ideal, but whatever. So the Knight of Pentacles, the Temperance card. The Knight of Pentacles is someone that takes his time with this offer that he is bringing to the table. Now, it is definitely a slow burn, slow and steady, is what wins the race with the Knight of Pentacles. But I always say, if there are any knights that you can depend on or would want to see coming, especially if we are truly talking about love here, it would be the Knight of Pentacles. You would want to see someone that actually took pride and consideration and great detail and concern in cultivating this coin, whatever it is, whatever this offer is, it's something solid, stable, and dependable. Now, it's like the Temperance card here. It's almost like he's offering to the Temperance card. I'm hearing something else though. I'm hearing like the offer was delayed, and divine timing is what I hear. It was delayed because some things needed to be balanced out. So it's not like the typical delay of the Knight of Pentacles, which, I mean, it kind of is, but it isn't, where it was all just on his own accord of him, really dotting every I and crossing every T, being extra careful and maybe almost overthinking a bit what he's bringing to the table. It seems like the Temperance card was the slowdown, like it was like, all right, hold up. Like, keep mixing those cups back and forth, trying to decide the perfect mix, like a mixologist, trying to get the perfect brew going, where everything is balanced. Remember, we started with the four of wands, which is that harmony and balance and fairness within a home or a home dynamic or an establishment. And although maybe perhaps the offer has been more or less prepared for a long time, but it was the spirit that was pumping the brakes for this energy here, when there could be an equal give and take, a balance of reception here with the Six of Pentacles. That's what I'm getting. There must have been some aspect of this, the potential of whatever this coming together, union, partnership, whatever it may be, that was out of alignment at some point in time. Maybe one person needed a little bit more support than the other, and until they could both be, or maybe one was in more of a disadvantaged place or position energetically than the other. And in order for the two to come together on one accord, where they're both lifting up their hands in victory, and there's not a tension and, one being a little bit more dependent or resistant than the other, or one having to give much more than the other in some regard, which kind of is implied in this card here. Spirit needed to balance the playing field, is what I'm hearing. All right, let's see what else we got. What's that? Ten of Pentacles. Ooh, and the Wheel of Fortune trying to pop out, and the Chariot card come through, Spirit. Yeah, somebody was working hard. Somebody was working hard. At the Eight of Pentacles. And then we got the Wheel of Fortune. So this is like destiny and fated, which again is connected to, okay, so if this is like past life, I'm getting, and karma at that. Okay, so somebody, referring back to the Four of Wands and the Six of Cups, right? If if this was a reoccurring experience of destiny, whether you believe this or not, it doesn't have to. You don't have to believe in past lives to feel what I'm saying. Like I said, it could just have been in literally a different cycle. Consider this to be a Jupiter cycle. It could have been 10 years ago, could have been 20 years ago. Now I'm considering, I was just talking about reminiscing about college, which for me was now almost 2 decades ago. Not quite just yet, but not too far away, honestly. So it could have been even, 20 years ago, or in some significant time of your life that made an impression, where you forged a connection with someone, and it made, it had an impact, or you had an impact on it, but it's not something that's present to this day, or maybe it's just reemerging. I don't know. Maybe this is even the heads up that it may. I don't know. But the point is that whether it was past life or past cycle or past season, there was the timing, divine timing was at stake, and because it's like the seed was planted by way of the Knight of Pentacles, and it was a slow germination, where Spirit was watering it all along. And I feel like this is the harvest here with the Ten of Pentacles. This is legacy, generational wealth, divine dynasty, with all these cards in alignment, and with the Wheel of Fortune too. But one of the two was out of alignment or out of balance. Like somebody had a little bit more maybe one person kind of pushed forward in their clearing of karma from past cycles in some regard. Oh, that's what it could be. So even if this is not, I mean, I get the sense that it's what I'm saying, that this is between two individuals that have been down this road before, like they've had encounters before, but it honestly could be someone that you've never met in this lifetime, if you can, subscribe to this, that is now being able to reemerge in this time frame, in this on this timeline, because of the karmic clearing that has occurred, the healing that's taken place. And it has been a slow burn. It has taken a lot of time, a lot of sowing, a lot of investing in yourself, or whomever the other counterpart may be, literally working on yourself with the Eight of Pentacles here, working on some new beginning, finding the courage here to, and is this the Hermit card at that? Oh, hell yeah, going within to find, that inner light and guidance, and being pushed ahead, or ascended for that matter, from that intel, not just working to be working, but actually working towards some energetic affluence, by way of connecting with the spirit, or tapping into like your more spiritual nature, and valuing the potential of the destiny that you feel aligned with, or at least being intentional about pursuing that path, even if you didn't necessarily know it. These are the things that have been going on along this path, along this journey, which now it seems there's something opening up. The Wheel of Fortune is here. We know that wheel's been turning for some time now. Some energies have been trying to distract from the evolution of this experience here, where now people are actually coming into the harvest of the energy they've sown into themselves to transcend their past traumas, whether they be past life or past cycles, and to really reap the benefits of their rewards now. Having worked a great deal with the Eight of Pentacles, having labored and championed their own the possibility for a new experience of life in some way, shape, or form, evolving, in a fantastical way. It's like there's been a resistance to it. And perhaps that's why the Temperance was in the midst, like keeping all things calm and balanced, because I'm getting the sense that we're one, because of the external resistance, and also not just, but and also just the natural order of life and how it was designed to evolve, and everyone having their own free will, right? Spirit has had to kind of keep the contents balanced accordingly to make sure that everybody's on track, more or less, for what's been divine to happen at this set time. So you may have had a union, you may have been in a union that didn't really pan out so well, and it may have even felt like soulmate vibes, or it felt like it was something forever, or at least much longer lasting than what it panned out to be, or there was some circumstance or change of path that just forged a disconnection, and there was nothing particularly bad or sour about it, but just life changed, people evolved and went separate ways. It was because the timing, wasn't divine for both parties to be at an equal playing field, at a transcendent state, to be able to add value to each other's lives fairly. One was probably moving along in one regard on their own pace, and I keep wanting to say, I'm stopping myself from saying faster, because it wasn't just like with the Knight of Pentacles. It's about slow and steady and really being focused on your own path. So I don't want to make it about a competition, because it hasn't been, it wasn't, and it never will be. It was about the balance and harmony of, this heavenly ordinance, so to speak. Spirit all up in it with the Temperance. Literally, that speaks about having patience for the unveiling or the unfolding of natural order, and alchemizing your experiences along that way with the help of your most supreme self and spirit, So one probably had to exercise a great deal of patience, maybe that could see the value of a particular opportunity, whether it be to connect or commit in a relationship or to establish some matter of collaboration, even creatively so. Someone had the vision to see an idea and the potential for something in the distant future or more immediate, but I get the sense that somebody had the foresight to see something that maybe it just wasn't necessary. They had the sight for something that wasn't, that they didn't have the wisdom of timing for. It's like feeling excited that this is the love of my life, but not realizing that you or they or both of you had some growing and some healing and some learning and some clearing to do before that could truly be the case. Not necessarily meaning that it wasn't the case. Perhaps that it was always destined to be the case, but in order for there to be a solid foundation and a fortified future, that some things had to kind of transpire literally in between. See how that fluid, that spirit is flowing back and forth? It's like this one's healing over here, clearing this karma, this, childhood trauma. This one's clearing their insecurities. This one's clearing, cycles of toxic relationships. This one's clearing poverty mindset. Each one was perhaps even mirroring each other in some regard, maybe not exactly the same time, but there was always something happening, or, there was always a catching up that was happening in spirit and in truth, that if there was a rush or a jump ahead, say this was the Knight of Wands, or, moving out of the passion of that incitement to want to just be together or want to follow their impulses, or the Knight of Swords, just feverishly forging ahead, feeling entitled to whatever this connection was, or objective or end result may have been. It may have stepped things out of alignment in such a way that that it would have been ruined, is what I'm saying. So like one not being completely healed, committing him or herself to a union may have actually cycled back around into some karma, picking up from the past life, when the main objective, which has been most, especially in this lifetime, for whatever reason, we are alive at such a time as this, where this particular lifetime is when it was like the stakes have been really high for us to clear karmic cycles. We're not really responsible for so much in this life. I mean, you can consider that we are if you don't believe in past lives, but certainly clearing as much of what we can with what we know in this lifetime, and championing a forge ahead, perhaps for legacies before us and beyond us, if that makes sense. So there are some things that we picked up for ancestors and predecessors that made a great sacrifice before our time now, and then we're paving the way and laying foundations and groundworks and roots for the legacies and dynasties that are coming after us. So a lot has been riding on this time, where if you were to get caught up in the continuation of a cycle that you were ultimately chosen to break, it could falter not just for you in this lifetime, but it could dismantle, it could like unravel the sacrifices of generations before you, and almost make it that it's almost in vain at this point, because you're the inheritor of all the sacrifices that they have made to ultimately disseminate the rewards and awards of their hard labor to you. To give everything they got to you, all the gifts, all the glory, all the material gain, all the ideas, all the visions, the resources, the support. For whatever reason, it's prime season for it to be passed down. That's what this Wheel of Fortune card is about. It's like the jackpot of the generations that we've hit it. You know, if you're here and you've presented yourself to be a diligent worker and eager and willing to receive this inheritance in the way that it's being released, and you proved yourself to do that by the choices that you made in integrity with this lifetime. So that's why I'm saying, like, you don't necessarily have to believe in any past life or past regressions or anything like that. You can just consider what you did with your time and energy in the past 10, 20 years. You know, who have you shown up to be? How did you invest your time and your resources? Not that you did anything perfectly, but what intention? This is the intention of the Knight of Pentacles, you know, like just being mindful of what you're bringing to the table, what you're cultivating to bring to the table in the first place. And a certain humility about it as well is what I'm getting from the Knight of Pentacles now. It's like he almost feels like, well, this is what I got type of thing, not realizing that was all that Spirit needed to see, was just the spirit of dedication and diligence and persistence and hard work, like someone that actually cares enough to give their best. It didn't really matter, like the story about the talents in the Bible, where each member was given a certain number. Some was given 1, some were given 3 or 5, and one was given 10. And it wasn't a judgment as to how much you brought back to the table and how great of a magnified interest you made on the investment. It was really about the intention behind the cultivation. You know, one of them hid, I think it was the one with the 1 that hid his talent because he was afraid that if he was afraid to take a risk pretty much and do anything else with it. So he just buried it just to make sure it was safely kept in one place, because he felt that if he had lost it by taking a chance or a risk and anything else outside of himself, that God would be angry with him. Like he said, I think he said something like, I know you're a vengeful God, and if I lost it, I thought, I would pretty much call your wrath upon me, whereas the others that had the 3 and the 5 and the 10, however the story goes, took the chance to invest it or multiply it in some way, and it didn't necessarily matter. Or was it the 10 that hit it? I can't remember now. You know me, how I have a brain fart when it comes to scriptures on these videos. But one of the two, was either the one on the lowest end of the spectrum or the highest end of the spectrum, that felt he had the most to lose one way or the other and decided not to take the risk. But it was those that took the risk that were ultimately rewarded, not because of the great magnitude of the investment that they increased, but just for their courage to do something with what they were given. How did you use your talents? How have you used your gifts? You may feel like you only have one good talent worth talking about, but maybe you've cultivated that thing and at least appreciated it, valued it, have had gratitude for that one thing in a way that has been pleasing to the Spirit, to then multiply it here as it is in the 10 of Pentacles. And the one that thinks he only has one, ultimately has a great deal when he has the mindset to invest it and plant it wisely, because it can yield a great return. So I feel like that's the energy here now, especially in this harvest season that we're still in, where we're discovering new things about ourselves, where actual physical harvests in the material sense are now manifesting from the spirit of the matter, from the matter of spirit, I should say. Like Spirit is literally alchemizing those investments that have been made in a spiritual sense, energetically. As I said, the intention to want to do something powerful with what you have, great or small. Now, as it's been being balanced out, like I said, not just restricted to relationships, but the timing of the harvest matters. You know, only certain things grow in certain seasons and in certain climates and under certain conditions and with certain amounts of water or less than, or sunlight or less than. Like, everything is particular when we're talking about the cultivation of the supreme human spirit as it is exemplified here. And it's always the intention, or, you know, the big picture for it to spring forth, even in the physical sense, is not to be stored up as some hope for heaven at a later time, in a later place, in some far off existence. It's to be harvested right here in the earth, contrary to some popular belief. It's always been that intention. It's always been that ideal. And, you know, thanks be to our ancestors and predecessors that even when they didn't see the evidence of the harvest that they idealized, they continue to keep their hand on the plow, continue to focus on the big picture, on their faith, on the hope for a brighter tomorrow, lest we not have the opportunity that we do now to, in some regard, avenge their labors, you know, avenge their sacrifices, you know, and have truly reap the material gain of their spiritual investments, you know, the spiritual altars that they made of themselves, living sacrifices in many regards, and many cultures that didn't see much of anything for their day-to-day struggle, you know, and the hardships and trials and tribulations that they incurred just for the sheer possibility that their children or children's children might have a better life than them, let alone for the fantastical potential of power that we are all said to manifest, you know, that we are all receiving in real time. So, you know, it's a wonderful time to be alive, whether you believe it or not. I surely do. And, you know, this is giving me, as I'm looking down, this is giving me those vibes of like the college campus with, you know, the arches, and we were outside in the quad, and these are people passing by, and it was cool. It was really a good time. Sun card here, most prosperous and productive card in the deck. A very prosperous future is ahead. And there's the power that I was talking about. That's it right there. How do I want to do this? I'm feeling hot and I'm talking a lot, so I'm not going to be here much longer. But we got the Ten of Pentacles and we got the Ace of Wands. This is that surge of power, of creativity, of force that can only come from an ethereal ordinance. So yeah, it's fitting that it's coming from under the Temperance card. This upgrade in power and creativity, literally being limitless. The Sun card is still sticking out here in the deck. That's the source of the power of the force that I'm saying we all, but take it how it applies, how it resonates, because you know if you know who, you know, where on this ideal you fare and what you feel guided to believe and receive as far as what I'm saying. You know, for sure, this is a very high vibrational delivery, transmission, I would say, about coming into a power that is unlimited. And, you know, lately I've been seeing it after I do, like I've done a couple readings in a different way, and I haven't really been catching it in the reading itself. But it's like, this is like supernatural power that we are set to embody, that we are already embodying. We just don't realize it in some regard. But this is the physical expression of a supernatural force. And I think it's important to really say that, so that you start to, first and foremost, maybe understand the reality, King of Swords here, the reality of the energy that you're already feeling. you may already be feeling some strange things in your being, strange happenings around you, things that seem coincidental, but they aren't. Like you say something and then it happens, or you think about something and all of a sudden you manifest. You were just thinking about somebody and they call you, seems trivial in the grand scheme of things. Like I said, coincidence, but it's not really. It's not. The synchronicities that we're experiencing in our waking lives that attune us to these phenomenons, if you want to say, are to aliven our what's the right word? Awareness of who we are actually being in real time. Not to create a sense of ego or inflated pride, but so that you can be aware of the power, that current of power that is running through you and rushing through you, and begin to operate in the fullest of that authority as a King of Swords would, in integrity and honor and truth with it, given permission to be almost the CEO of a great power company such as yourself. This is what this Ace of Wands is giving me. You may even be feeling like physical manifestations of this energy by way of like heart palpitations or, like I said, I'm just real hot right now, and that's been happening for the past few days, and I know I ain't going through no change already. Ain't no way in hell I'm calling that into my life. But I'm more or less a pretty cold-blooded person. I'm usually much more cold, but lately I've been feeling this surgence of heat in my body, and it's strange for me, where I'm opening windows and taking off clothes and stuff. That's different for me. So that's just one practical way that I'm realizing in a sensational way, a change that has almost seemed to occur overnight, I would say. So there's a reason I'm saying this, to really incite more self-awareness of these seemingly subtle changes that are not very subtle at all, and these so-called coincidences that are really not by chance. It's like the entire universe is, perhaps even so-called ancestors that have the energy and the reach to express themselves through the angelic realms straight to you by way of of such synchronicities, like angel numbers that you see, or a certain song, or some visual that comes across your attention that immediately reminds you of a specific time or a specific person. Me even being on the college campus today, of which I have not really parlayed on the college campus in a long time. So I don't think I've even really scratched the surface as to why I was doing that today, or why I felt compelled, because honestly, it was almost a backtrack for me to go from where we got our pizza to then track back to where the campus was. It really wasn't on the way. So it was like spirit was pulling me, like, come over here for a second. Maybe it was me needing to be energized with that exuberance of youth that I once felt when you were carefree. And I think I even said that to my son, now that I'm mentioning it, that I was like, yeah, I think I said something like, I ought to be a college student again, where all you cared about was, what did I say? Your next, going to class and your next exam. And I said something else. I said, what did I say? I said, going to class, your next exam, something, and who's your man? It was like a little rhyme, and he laughed or whatever, but I can't remember what that third thing was. And it was just all these little simple things that when you were in college seemed like the most important things in your life. What midterm you had coming up next, or what grade you got on the last and in that class, or what schedule you needed to, how you needed to set yourself up ultimately to graduate, and things of that nature. So, I felt like I was sent into that environment for that, but but holistically, even though those were concerns, in hindsight, they weren't really that serious when you think about actually securing a livelihood now, as I have to do as an adult, a very independent adult. But there was also a certain freedom that I experienced in college too, where in the midst of all of those concerns, you still kind of felt a bit carefree as well. Life wasn't that serious. And it was all about your friends and all about, oh, I think I said the next party. Yeah, I think I said going to class, your next exam, the next party, and who's your man or something like that. And he laughed. And it was really just about experiencing life, really embracing the experience of life without the stress. Maybe just, okay, I get it. It was a reminder to return to that ideal, that energy is not lost, that is not an energy to be thrown away. Even with the Six of Cups, now that I'm thinking about it in a new way and in connection to what I'm saying about being on that campus, it's like sometimes we feel like once we do become of a certain age that we don't have the rights to the vitality of our youth. But this is poking out for a reason. But we do. As far as the universe is concerned, we're always going to be children in some regard, that we are all, and not children to be docile and and dependent entirely, but kind of the same way you consider in college, where you're very much grown and responsible for yourself. Like nobody can take your test but you. Nobody can be responsible to wake you up in the morning to get to class, and you figure out life all on your own independently in a new way, but you just still have a bit of a safety net, while if you're lucky, if you're blessed, you do, to have a family member to call or somebody to send you a couple dollars when you need it. Thank God I did, thankfully I absolutely did in more ways than one. And even if you don't, there's just there's less of an expectation for you to have it all together in college and have it all figured out, because that's ultimately what you're there for. And I'm getting the idea that maybe we take life too seriously, that even the Bible encourages us to be as little children, always eager to learn, eager to experience, curious to grow. That's my interpretation of that ideal. And I feel like a lot of that gets lost in the shuffle, especially when we're dealing with the chaos of the natural world and the projections of such, really, because it's not chaotic in its natural state. It's the projections within it that create chaos and confusion. And we lose the innocence of that childlike energy, excited to experience. We exchange that almost for the fear of our security, or worse, our mortality. And this is that energy here. I'm hearing it now. So the Six of Cups is like, it can be a childlike energy as well, a childlike exchange. And it's almost like us reclaiming our youth, like reclaiming our time from this energy here. I'm seeing him peeking out, which makes sense. Reclaiming our energy from what's been stolen from us, perhaps even practically at our youth. Like when we're talking about inheritance here, some may actually be impending an inheritance of a actual material nature that's been withheld since you were a child, or withheld from you from ancestors that left it to you when you were a child, or because you were of some affinity to them. They had some affinity for you, and then people have, again, this energy here causing disruptions and disturbances, and Thank you, Spirit, I hear it now. That easefulness of life that should have been divine to you, that you should have always felt like a child playing in the sun, even while living your natural life and experiencing the maturation and the divine timing that was ordained, that there was still supposed to be a spirit of ease and vitality and joy and happiness, that it wasn't supposed to be hard. And that's an experience that can be relatable on a universal scale, all the way down to a personal scale. As I said, some people have been withheld from since a child, not even necessarily in the physical way, although there's a lot of that, but even energetically, people not being clear to you about who they experienced you to be when you were a kid, like the gifts and things that you expressed when you were a child, because they felt compelled to guide you in a different direction that would be more sustainable or more acceptable in some way, shape, or form. Then you got that happening on a national scale, on the global scale, where individuality such as this, just shining your natural light unapologetically, is not holistically encouraged. And then universally, you have that pushback where there's a calling on you to do something. You feel the calling, you feel the insurgence to do something different than perhaps what you're doing normally, commonly. But the tug of war is between what you've always known or always been expected to do and that greater calling that almost feels, like I said, like you don't even have enough to offer to what you feel called to. This is so deep to me. I hope you hear it the way I feel it. Like I said, this King of Pentacles is like, is this good enough? And it's those talents, again, back to the parable. And that was a parable that Jesus told, by the way. I'll find it and post it. It may be kind of long, so I might just post the scripture if you're interested. But it's like, is this good enough? I mean, I've been working on it, I think. And but the Knight of Pentacles is more or less like even a teenager. It's not even like the King. The King is full grown, mature. This is a teenager, young adult at best. So feel me. It's never a coincidence why I'm sharing what I'm sharing, especially in the beginning, because it always comes out in the wash. Young adult teenager on a college campus, a little bit unsure, a little insecure, not quite focused holistically, maybe having an idea of the direction they want to head in, but not really sure how it's going to pan out. Me personally, I changed my major more than halfway through my college experience, and I had to finesse my way into graduating on time by way of an awesome advisor, that if he hadn't really moved some things around, I might have had to do an extra summer or so because I changed my major so late. So it's like you're not even expected to know who you are and what to do with all that you have while you're there. The purpose is to experience and to find, to connect with the value of who you are while you're there. And that's one thing for sure that I did do in that time. I grew a great deal, learning more about who I was. Like I said, I wouldn't take a thing back. I learned what I didn't want to do. It took me a little time to figure that out, but the Spirit was right there to balance all things out accordingly, and to help me see my way through in divine timing and on time for graduation. And I even got experience because my school was a co-op school where you went to school half a year and then you did a co-op the other half. So it was a 5-year program. So I got work experience and professional experience even while I was in the midst of my education, which everybody doesn't get unless you go out and get an internship or something, or a summer job, in the most conventional sense. So it was like everything was built in for me, and the choice that I made to be where I was, and probably where I was guided to be by my supreme self that I hadn't even fully connected with at that time, to go. And that's how we get to live the life now, like without fear. I never was afraid. I probably was almost too relaxed. And a lot of that definitely does hold account to who you are as a person naturally, this is kind of who I've been naturally, to just kind of go with the flow. And I feel like in some regard, that's what we're all called to. And the resistance comes more so within ourselves and what we allow to take precedence as a pushback. You know, I could have absorbed others' anxieties about graduating on time, or about not having enough money to pay my tuition, or not picking the right major in the first place, or not having the right boyfriend, or, you know, whatever the case may be, or even as trivial as wearing the right outfit, which was absolutely important to me at that time. You know, I could have absorbed a lot of impressions from projections, and probably did too. I know I did, as a matter of fact. But the most important part is that I learned to really cultivate and separate my perspective from the crowd, from the masses, from what was popular opinion, you know, from the impressions that were around me. And I became an individual at the pace that was divine for me to do so, and in the safe space to do so, because again, there was that safety net in spirit and in truth, and the expectation that I was learning and growing. So I'm saying that for a reason, and I know it to say that this power that we're being surged with is given to us with the expectation that we're going to have to kind of find our bearings with it, to be eternally creative, meaning like it may come down, like I said, and I did say this already, but I didn't mean it in the most fantastical way that I do now. To be able to call something into existence and it happen like that, that's a powerful energy to possess. But some do possess it. Maybe even you do. And you consider it, the only reason why it doesn't activate more instantaneously is because when it does happen, you perceive it to be a coincidence or just a funny thing. When in actuality, you did that thing. You created that experience. You created that circumstance. I was going through college and going through that experience like having the support of the spiritual realms all along. But when I said it was time to graduate, I graduated. My spirit, because I allowed myself to be guided in that way, led me to exactly the right people, to put me in exactly the right position, to do exactly what was needed for me in all, to meet that goal of expectation that I had for myself, and that ultimately was, in some regard, divine for me to experience and to obtain. It's the same way in the most practical sense and in the most mystical sense is what I'm getting, is that the inheritance is this eternal force of power that comes from source. And the adverse energy, whether they be intimately positioned, nationally, globally, or universally, an obstinate force, would want you to believe that you're not worthy to possess such a power, that you're not, who do you think you are to be able to manifest in a moment's notice, to be able to think on a thing and have it be so, to be able to take a coin and multiply it times 10. That's the resistance to your self-awareness, to your self-assuredness at this point. You've become aware by the signs and synchronicities in your waking life. Now I believe it's time to move into assurance, literally blessed assurance, knowing that not only is this power divine to you, like it's been given, it's been authorized to be awarded to you, but that you have permission to wield it. And in this regard, you can only play yourself out of position by doing the wrong thing with it. So if you get caught up in your own pride and ego and out of integrity, caught up in obsession, possession, addictions, or whatever other distractions the adverse energy can throw your way, then the power will work against you in some way, shape, or form. So it's like foolproof. I think the point that I'm supposed to be making here is to have less resistance to waving this wand, to being more bold about the things that you are calling into existence in your life, and it being the source of that power being from a space of entitlement and worthiness. Not entitlement in a lower vibration, more worthiness than anything, but entitlement comes from the authority that you've been given to use the power, because you've already been entrusted. Like you've literally gone through the work, you've gone through the maturation, you've balanced karmic cycles from past to present, you've been tested in past life cycles in the last 10, 20 years with little specks of the power. Like I said in that parable, God giving you this and seeing what you're going to do with it. God giving you a little bit more and seeing like, okay, what's she going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? Giving you access to people, places, and things, not even just money and resources or time and energy and power, but literally the universe as it pertains to you at your fingertips, and watching, observing how you will work your brand of magic, what boundaries you will cross, or what integrities you will stay in alignment with. You've already proven yourself to pass that test with flying colors. And now it's like, yes, there is a bit of a graduation here in the sense that you get to now become, as I said, go from the awareness to the assuredness to know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I am supposed to be able to manifest, literally call spirit into matter, the things that are divine for me to do so, that I perceive are such. That you're supposed to do that, but also reconciling the spirit that may have been lost along the way, because it was a bit of it was an interesting path, whether it was past life or past cycle, even the past 10 years have made a deep psychological impression on our energetic signature. So it's like now almost coming out of the PTSD of, like that child that feels scolded every time they try to go and do something that's out of alignment. It's not that. It was just you were being trained and groomed and strengthened to use your power in the most wise way. And now that you've gained that, it's like reconciling the two aspects of you, from that childlike nature that will just experience and express themselves freely with that mature, evolved energy that knows better now. So it's like you won't necessarily do the same things that you used to do when you were a young lad without a thought, yet and still you're still invited to have the same courage and joy and carelessness and carefulness at the same time of that creative expression, if that makes sense. It's like literally the resurgence of the two energies in the present moment, so that you don't lose sight of how great life should be and feel, and how much excitement, how much happiness truly does matter. Some people will say, like, you're not put on this in this life to be happy. I heard a spiritualist say that I respect very much, and I was like, really? You believe that you're put here to do God's will? Well, the two can't mutually exist. I don't want to serve a God that doesn't care for me to be happy. That's me personally. I feel that there is a mutual existence for sure. Consider the experience of college itself, where just as I kind of said, you're expected to learn and grow, but you're also not expected to have it to be perfect and to know it all and to have everything figured out. Such is life. No, I don't think it would be a great experience for me to have just gone to college and just study, study, study. I mean, I probably could have done more studying and I would have been better off. But I was more social than I was studious, unfortunately, as smart as I am. But if I had studied more, I would have had a better outcome. Neither here nor there. More of the balance is the point. That it's a balance. That yes, we are here on a mission in spirit and in truth. But to me, I feel like the mission doesn't even get to be fully, you don't even get to fully, how can I say it? It's like, I'm hearing cadet in my head. I don't even know why I'm hearing that. But you don't even get to fully matriculate into and for lack of a better word, into this evolved state of your supreme self without having joy along the way, because that's the fuel to me that makes the journey that much brighter, that really compels you to keep going, that excites you to move forward, to keep learning, to be curious about what's next, to want to see what's coming around the corner, to want to challenge yourself in the next big way, to reach the next height, the next goal. When we start to lose the joy of life and lose sight of what truly makes us happy and feel free and exhilarated in some form, is when I feel like we fall into the space of complacency, in which we just continue on the same humdrum experience that usually fizzles out to have any great impact. It's only as good for the capacity that it's working within. It's not really accumulating any newer value, So I don't know, that's just what I'm thinking. And in this time, given all that I've experienced, I feel like, it's time for us to shake the devil off, in a very fantastical way, but like shake that energy of limitation and resistance off that would compel us to feel that it has to be this or that we got to follow God's will or else, or follow, the path that we feel guided to lead and sacrifice our happiness, that we can't have it all, whatever it may be, whatever all is to you, and that meaning AWENALL, all, if you feel me. I feel like that's the impression that's been made it onto us, which has really been the killer of our enthusiasm for the mission itself, whatever that mission be, individually and uniquely. That we can't experience the fullness of our own vitality and sovereignty and also innocence in some great regard without sacrificing one for another. I just don't subscribe to that. I feel this message is actually a calling for us to be more intentional now than ever before, to cultivate the balance of all those things, to be just as exuberant as a child would and just as wise as an owl. I don't know. As wise as an elder. Look at this. Matter of fact, get into it. What's in this picture? That we may actually be embodying the wisdom of our elders in our earthly bodies. And you think they want to come back to restriction? they want to lend their gifts and their energy to restriction and limitation when they have already experienced and surrendered against that for us to be more free. No, the expression that I believe that they would want to experience of us is total freedom, knowing now all that they've known having come and gone, and perhaps come back again in some regard, because the ancestors, I believe, are coming back through by way of our children. And for those that are an open channel spiritually and energetically to receive either their celestial intel, hell, like I said, this is about gifts, supernatural gifts, their actual intel, their energetic force, their possessions, their valuables, the rewards they've left behind, the energies that they're impressing upon us, like I said, from knowledge from heavenly spaces, from otherworldly realms that we wouldn't have access to in our limited scope of perception here, in this realm. It's all fusing together. Like, get into it. It's a kid back here, 2 young adults here, and an elder here. All three in 3 generations, more or less, and creation with the dogs in one card. It's all coming together. And I feel like we maximize this vibration, this vitality, this signature by being just as open to wield it wisely as we are, what's the right word? I can't hear it right now, but just like when you're, I don't want to say innocent again, but I don't know. You get what I'm saying, though. You got to feel me. I know whomever is my tribe feels me.